Yeah. You're listening to Autodesk's Digital Builder Podcast, a show that inspires construction professionals to innovate and use technology to improve how they build our world. I'm Eric Thomas, and I've been working in construction for nearly a decade. And now I have the privilege to sit down with industry trailblazers to hear how they're solving construction's biggest challenges and redefining the future of the built environment. All right, welcome back to Autodesk Digital Builder Podcast. I am your host, Eric Thomas. It is the third day of Autodesk University, and I have the absolute privilege and pleasure of sitting next to Cliff Cole, the Director of VDC from PENTA. Cliff was the first guest on Digital Builder alongside Allison Scott 3 years ago, just before AU, and I am just so excited to have you back, man. Thank you so much for giving me your time. We're going to talk about F1 and some really cool stuff happening in Las Vegas. But Cliff, how are you doing today, man? How's the energy?
Oh, Eric, the energy's great here. Day 3, I'm still surviving. I'm running off a little bit of sleep, but it's amazing. It is an honor and a pleasure to be back here again. Thank you very much for everything that you do.
Hey, thank you, man. And I feel you on the sleep thing. We're running podcasts all day long. I've been joking that they're chaining me underneath the stage, and I don't even have a hotel room. But that's not actually true. So don't spread any bad rumors. But either way, we're all really fired up. We're having such great discussions, and we're learning a lot of stuff. And just the energy is contagious. I love being out in the expo hall and hanging out here. So, Cliff, I've got a ton of questions for you tied to F1, and I was hoping you could just give me a high level. What the heck is happening with F1 or Formula One in racing in Vegas, and why is the city a little more chaotic than it normally would be? Give me the high level.
Oh, the Formula One, Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix Formula One is a project like none other, especially for us here locally in the Las Vegas Valley. It's been amazing to work on, and the energy in the valley has been amazing. The amount of work, effort, the people that have been involved in it, not just the construction side or the design side, but all the local community leaders, the other properties that are involved. It's been an absolute tremendous honor for PENTA Building Group, including myself, to be involved in this type of project.
Yeah, you're doing so much cool stuff, and it's just wild. You're in downtown Las Vegas. Folks are going to be racing on the Strip, if people aren't aware of this, which is a really wild thing to think about. And I'd love to hear a bit more about that. Like, can you give me some details of the project itself? Like, what's the scope? What's the size? What are you actually building right now?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot during AU. Like, what are you doing at F1? and I always say, we're doing everything. We're doing the pit building that's on Harmon and Koval. We are doing the all the barricades, the infrastructure, the asphalt layout, the grandstands. We're coordinating with all the properties, the Regional Transportation Commission, the Metro Police Department, every bit of coordination that is being involved in this project. There are other contractors that are doing the actual asphalt layout, which is a very unique type, which we have some of the best roads in Las Vegas right now in the entire world.
I'm sure people are going to be thankful of that once the project wraps.
Yes.
But, I know everybody's hanging out for, it's like a 10-year contract, and, the races are going to keep coming back. But I think it's wild. I mean, imagine a racetrack. Like, think about just all of the facilities necessary for a racetrack, from lighting to stands to everything else. And a lot of these things are temporary. So you're standing them up, you're taking them back down again. Everything's ready to go. The event starts here in a couple of days. But I wish I was staying. I wish I could hang out. But also, I heard the costs of some of the hotels and stuff are a little bit high. So sadly, I won't be sneaking in to check out some of the races here. But I'd really like to hear a bit more about what it's been like to work on and construct such a unique and time-sensitive project, especially with such a narrow window of time to set everything up. Yeah. Can you tell me especially about what's going to happen, like, day of the race? Like, what's race day going to be like?
So the chaos started last year. We basically had 11 and a half months roughly from start of foundations of the pit building until Thursday, which the race officially starts.
And how much time would you have liked to have had? Like, how crazy of a compression of a schedule is that?
Ideally, it would have been triple the amount of time, realistically, or double the amount of time. Yeah. So the fact that we had 11 months to put together, all gratitude goes to the folks, the women and men that are out on the job sites, putting work into place, the design teams, the owners that had the vision to bring this to Las Vegas and put it on the world famous strip. I'm not involved necessarily in the day-to-day details. I am involved at a higher level, but we have folks working 24/7 from the day one to make this thing happen. Last night was the first time we actually what they call the hot track, which is when they close down all the streets and the track is live for the cars to be on. That whole practice, we've been practicing for about 6 months now. So for that time, we have 3 opportunities to get it right.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing to see that the practice that we've had to do to put the temporary bridges in, close the streets down, open them back up so all the traffic can still flow through. We want to minimize the disruption on the Las Vegas Strip as much as possible, but there are things we want to do to make sure everybody is safe and the quality of work is put into place. So that's been amazing, but it's really the people. I'm always amazed at what we can do when we work together, put our minds to it. People from different companies, different entities, right? We've ultimately different goals, but at the end of the day, we have the common goal of making the best experience for all the people that come to Las Vegas to see the F1 race.
Oh, for sure, man. And it's incredible to think about the sheer scale of what you're doing. And it's so cool that you've been practicing this stand up and takedown for 6 months, but the precision that must be required to achieve this and of course achieve the levels of safety that you require, because this isn't just a normal construction project. There's going to be a race here. I mean, like F1, like these cars are not going slow. This is not a casual drive around the Las Vegas Strip. And I'm jealous that you're going to be able to hang out and see some of this stuff. Maybe I'll get you to sneak me in your duffel bag or something. Like, oh, Eric pops out and we'll, check out the race because it's going to be very cool. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that coordination effort that you were talking about. So I know you said it's citywide and there's so many different companies and industries and just folks that have to come together, and especially on race day in a really time-sensitive and short amount of time. How have you managed the coordination of something at such a scale, especially when the requirements are so precise?
I've been in Las Vegas for 18 years and worked on some amazing projects. This by far is the most coordination that has been had, because usually we're in a contained environment on a one job site. We're working with the different public entities, inspectors, other trade partners and designers. But this is a magnitude where we're touching 3.8 miles of track all through the Las Vegas Valley and specifically on the Las Vegas Strip. And some of the most famous areas that people know of, the Bellagio Fountain, the Caesar's Palace, right in front of Wynn and Venetian, where we're at today here in Sands. So the amount of coordination started at day one, and we have used a lot of different methods and tools that we've learned across the past, and there's some tools and methods that we had never had to use before to bring this thing to fruition. But at the end of the day, what it really came back down to is, can we get the information as quickly as possible to the right people, communicate effectively, and make sure everybody's clear and understands the plan of action and what we got to do to make this thing happen. So that's been amazing.
I love that. And I think this is going to be a really interesting one to watch on television too, because, you think most F1 races or any type of races, like the scenery can be beautiful. You can have some interesting track features. Like I ride motorcycles on track just for fun because, I'm a silly person. I like to do that. And it can be very dramatic, but I couldn't imagine, zipping around on one of my motorcycles in downtown Las Vegas like this, and I'm going to have to catch this race on TV. I don't normally watch F1 if I'm being honest, but I'm going to have to take a look just because, I'm hanging out. It's Wednesday and the race is tomorrow, right?
The race starts Thursday. And they have a practice tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. Sorry.
No, it's Wednesday. It's crazy.
Today's Wednesday. They have a practice today, so they will shut the strip down and they will practice. They will have the race starts Thursday with the preliminaries, or I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but then the actual race is Thursday, Friday. I'm sorry, Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
So it's I'm not a big F1 fan. I'm learning a lot about it. I heard there's a Netflix series that everybody keeps talking about.
There is. It's worth watching.
So I might have to check it out afterwards. But we're living it right now. We're seeing the cars come in. We're talking to the F1 folks. We're talking to our construction manager. We're talking with the city council. We're talking to different property owners, security, Metro Police Station, Police Department. It's been amazing on the coordination that we had. We have a bi-weekly we call war room, where everybody gets together, talks about how we're going to plan this out, and then we have an off-site location where all of these practices is going on. So to go out there and talk with the men and women that are putting stuff into place, and see the passion that they have, that they're changing the landscape of the city. And I was luckily I was able to drive down the strip the other day, lights on. And just I can imagine what's going to be like for the drivers going 220 miles an hour down Las Vegas Strip, seeing all these iconic buildings.
It's a different experience when you're going that fast. I'll tell you that much. I've done a number of just track walks where in the morning you walk around it, and it's valuable input when you're riding around it later on. But it's entirely different when you're like just ripping down the street or something. It's really cool, man. Does anybody on the team have a chance to interact with any of the drivers or anything, or are you all kind of arms length away from that?
We're the contractor, so we kind of stay in the back. But we do have opportunities to meet with some of the drivers during some like the opening ceremonies when they did ribbon cutting. We have some of the local politicians and industry leaders here locally. But we haven't had no direct coordination with the drivers. But they are here in town. They were racing down at the end of the strip, end of the Las Vegas Strip, and it's called Speed Vegas, but now they're to come tonight.
All right, I'm gonna have to stay awake. Even though I got to wake up for like 4 a.m. to get on a plane tomorrow, I think I'm gonna have to wander down to the strip and check that out, because that's a unique opportunity.
It's unique. It's definitely the interest. I mean, there's very many times where we shut down the strip, New Year's Eve, and in Formula One, and probably the only few times that happens.
Well, I love it. I'm fortunate to be here and be able to catch a glimpse of all the hard work that your team is doing, and I can only imagine the excitement when you get to work on something so unique. I mean, folks that work in our industry are already passionate about what they do, even if it's a more typical or straightforward building or opportunity that they're working on. But when you get to touch cool stuff like this, like there's just a level of excitement that's hard to contain. And so I'm excited for everybody in your team that gets to be here and be part of this. It's really cool.
Yeah, and locally, my group and our BD and our Bridge Design and Construction department, we've done some truly innovative things that we're pushing limits on. We're able to fly drones and map out the whole site, and flying past the new Spear and how that ties into the track it's amazing. It's going to be interesting. That turn's going to be awesome. To be able to put together animated videos to kind of show them how this is going to come together, to be able to videotape the practices that they're doing, and almost come back and replay, almost like they do in like sports, where they kind of go back and look at the play before, so teams can see what they did well and what they need to improve on. We're really pushing the limits. F1 is a innovative concept as a whole to be able to shut down the Las Vegas Strip. So we're trying to match that energy and that excitement as far as the innovation that we're bringing into building.
Yeah, I don't think I can think of anything that even resembles this. I mean, there's many road races that happen, like I can think of like Isle of Man and other things that happen in Europe, but it's a very different circumstance. I mean, they shut it down, but you're not building all of this infrastructure in the way that your team's been doing. And it's cool that you have an opportunity to iterate and learn. And I think filming everything in the way that you're talking about, when it comes to next year, you go, okay, here's where we struggled a little bit. Here's where there was an opportunity for improvement. And you get to document that so clearly and build on it. And I think it just really maps back to a theme that I hear more and more, is just that, continuous improvement. And, what more exciting way to really lean on that than, an F1 race.
Exactly. That continuous improvement is something that we're definitely passionate about and keep striving toward. Our group is always looking for innovative solutions, not just technology, but anything that's innovative, whether it's lean construction or a different way to communicate information. Those kind of things are beneficial. But all this information we're pulling together now is basically developing a playbook that we're going to be able to have for years to come. Then when we come back the next 10 years, 9 years to put this race down. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
it's awesome that they've committed to a decade. I can understand why. I mean, the amount of work going in, it'd be weird to be like, let's just do this for a year. It'd be hard to get somebody to jump on board for that one, but it's fairly cool. But I mean, think about this: Formula One, the Raiders, the WNBA, the Super Bowl. Vegas has become a sports city incredibly fast. What's it like, both as a Las Vegas resident like yourself and an industry professional, to see all of this unfold? Tell me how it feels, man.
Originally I'm from the East Coast. I'm used to growing up in sports towns, and that people are so passionate about their sport teams and representing them. And when I moved here, Vegas didn't necessarily have that, but they had the foundation set. So everything that everybody's seeing now with the Raiders coming, the Golden Knights, the Stanley Cup champion Golden Knights, the world champion WNBA Las Vegas Aces, Vegas has really become a sports town. We've always had a minor league baseball team. Now the Oakland A's are they're potentially coming here as well. There's been talks for years about the NBA coming here too. So I mean, Vegas is primed and ready to be able to be. We're capital of entertainment, and we're also going to be the capital of sports world here pretty soon. And people come to Vegas. It's amazing to go to these games, go to the Raiders games, and see how many people come in from out of town just to come to the game, but then also experience the entertainment and life. Nightlife that we have here locally in the Las Vegas Valley. So I'm super excited. It's a professional that was able to be able to work on the T-Mobile Arena where the Golden Knights play at. That's been amazing to see how these things come together. We're a town where we have a lot of professional builders, and this is kind of what we do. And we're doing it with an environment where everybody works together. Even we may not be working on a particular project. We have trade partners who are working on this particular project, and there's things that we can do to help some of those things. Because at the end of the day, we want a successful project for the city and to be successful. So it's been amazing. I love living in Vegas. It's everybody sees the glitz and the glamour of Vegas, but there is a suburban area where most of us live at and don't come to the strip at all, but except for the game days. But it's amazing to be here, and I'm glad that we're being a part of this.
It's so cool that you get to be such a part of a very robust infrastructure. I mean, a lot has to go in to support all of these facilities as well. It's not just, okay, we're going to build a new casino, but everything that comes with that. And it's cool that your team gets to play a big role in that and, just continue to see the city grow and draw more talent. And I'm a former Oakland resident, although I moved out about a year and a half ago. And it's always interesting because there's a little bit of a tension as far as some of the teams rolling over in the direction. I won't get into the politics of that or anything, but it just, it makes me chuckle that, you're on the other side of me and go, come on down, we're building this team.
Yeah, we're open arms.
That's cool, man. Well, I've got another question for you. As I mentioned at the start of our episode here, you're the very first digital builder guest. You joined me and Allison Scott on the show, like I said, just over 3 years ago. And there's been a lot of growth for both of us in the last 3 years. Let's be real. There's been a lot of change both in the world and the work that we're, having the real privilege to do. We first talked about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging on that episode. And I'd really like to hear, where are you in that narrative and, what's changed since that last conversation? Obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done, but I'd just like to check in because that's such an important theme.
Yeah, it was it was an honor to be the first guest. I'd never did a podcast before. I was definitely a little nervous.
Neither had
I. But to have you and Allison there, it made it a lot easier, and then we I was able just to speak openly about what we're doing at PENTA and my passion about diversity and inclusion in the industry. To me, we've made a lot of strides, and I was just having this conversation yesterday at lunch, and the comment came up is like, "Oh, but are we doing enough?" And my thought is, we are, because we had to start somewhere, right? We had to set the foundation and define what are we truly trying to accomplish, right? And there's always the feel-good story, but we have to have a purpose and a vision, right? And we have to be aligned on that vision. So a lot of times it's bringing awareness to the situation or the problem that we're trying to solve. And so to me, we're still along that journey. I think we're going to be on that journey for a while because people are different. We want to be able to celebrate diversity, but we also want to make sure that everybody is feel like they're included. I mean, I feel like they can be their authentic self when they come to work. There's terms that we're hearing now more that are more acceptable, like psychological safety and belonging. So those conversations weren't happening before. So the fact that is something that we can talk about, and people can feel open to have these conversations. I hang on those moments and those type of things, and less on the things that we feel like we aren't accomplishing. Because we just got to keep pushing and keep innovating. And I've been in this industry over 20 years, and I can tell you one thing for sure: there are a lot of amazing, hardworking people, women and men, that just want to do a good job, want to provide for their families, and have a passion for it. And so, to me, we should keep celebrating that.
I'm right there with you. And it's so important to continue, as you just so astutely pointed out, continue that conversation, because until you've been shown that there are differing opinions or differing experiences, it's really easy to not acknowledge or even be aware of them. And it's not necessarily somebody acting out of malice or out of spite or something. It's just not being informed or aware of what somebody else's lived experience is like. And I can think about my own life coming, I grew up in a very rural area in the Midwest, and I moved to the West Coast. And I remember I just started meeting more folks and started having more conversations. And there was a moment in time where I just had this big perception shift, and I go, oh, okay, my life, my journey has been so much different than all of these other folks that I'm meeting. And it's so important to give them an opportunity to share their story and message. So those people who were like me, who, were just hanging out and going, well, I'm just living my life, doing my thing, understand the importance of very deliberately being inclusive and ensuring that that equitable conversation is happening. But I think it goes beyond just, meeting a diversity metric as well, because, you can bring in and say, okay, 40% of our team is diverse, but are you promoting those people? Are you fast tracking them into leadership roles and giving them the ability to continue that message and bring their perspective into the leadership team? And if you're not doing that, you haven't gone quite far enough, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. And then also, to me, I'm big on mentoring them, making sure they know how, once they are in those positions, how to be successful.
Yeah.
What does it take? What is that standard of expectation that they have? And I think conversations like this, I mean, it's, we talked about what's changed. It's just opened up a lot more conversations with random people. I mean, I think I was talking to Ross early last night.
Oh, I had him on yesterday.
He had him on
Yeah,
yesterday.
he's great.
And we were talking about how, Justin was with him as well, and how that conversation started, and how it was just, I saw you on the podcast, or I heard about you, and I just wanted to meet, and then we sparked up a conversation, and it just opens up the eyes, because I was in a similar boat. Growing up on the East Coast, I was very exposed. I was only exposed to what I knew and what I saw, but there's so much more in the world out there, and so many great people. So to be able to come to the West Coast like yourself, and just, it's an eye-opening experience. So to me, and then also coming to a company where I was one of the only Black engineers at the time in the company, it was just kind of like, how do I navigate this? And I didn't really have anybody I felt super comfortable talking to. Well, fortunately enough, my president, at the time was a different role, but our president now had an open door policy, and we sat down and talked, and he kind of educated me on certain things. It just kind of opened me up to, and I never had that before in my career. And I just needed that little bit of support, that little bit of motivation, and honestly a little kick in the butt too as well. And it empowered me to do, the best that I can do.
Yeah, and there's, like we said, there's work to be done, but there's so much to be excited about right now. And I'm thankful for, even our early conversations and many others that I've had since, because I'm more comfortable having this conversation. If I look back to our first episode, I didn't say that much because I wasn't very certain of where my role was in that narrative, and I wanted to be cautious about it because I wanted to make sure I thought about it in the right way. And I feel much more empowered after learning from folks like yourselves to really build on that narrative, and also find other people that we need to bring up and say, tell your story, push this message forward. And, it shouldn't necessarily be coming from me, but we have a platform here and we can have these conversations, and it's incredibly important. And so thank you for, helping me along my journey on that conversation, and figuring out, where Digital Builder fits. And it's an evolving story, but I think our industry is doing a better job than they ever had. And I think also, just thinking about our labor challenges, the more inclusive, the more we can be, the better we're going to be suited to solve some of those challenges, both in just attracting people into the industry, but also getting them energized and feeling like they have that place. You think about even just having women getting more involved in construction. How on earth could you ignore 50% of our potential labor pool because you're not creating an environment that makes them feel safe or feel okay to start a family and have children, or navigate any other circumstance that might differ for their life versus what mine is? There's a lot to unpack there. I'm rambling now. It's all just so important, and I'm appreciative of the hard work that you've done, and the transparency you've had over the years. It's been great.
Thank you. It's and I be honest with you, I was nervous too. You don't know what you can and cannot say. I know what I felt. I know in my mind what I was thinking. I just didn't know if I could articulate it in a way that makes sense to everybody. That it's not a complaining. These are true feelings and beliefs. So to me, again, thank you again for the opportunity to be able to have a voice, to be able to speak speak about it. And for me currently right now, it's just I want to continue to be able to provide, be that voice for people who don't feel like they have a voice, or to empower people to have a voice to be able to speak up and have very direct and deliberate conversations that move the needle.
Yeah. And in something Mark Dyke said when I was speaking to him yesterday about mental health, we had a really wonderful conversation. It's a heavy conversation, but an important one, is if one perception or one person's mind is changed in the course of the conversation, that conversation is worth it. And so it's worth continuing to have that conversation and continuing to have it in different channels and increasing that visibility, because, we're changing minds, we're changing perspectives. And, it's impossible for me to understand what your lived experiences or somebody else's lived experiences unless we talk about it. And it's very easy to just make some assumptions if you haven't had that conversation.
Exactly. And as you mentioned before, we have industry challenges. I mean, designs are evolving, and there's the innovation. We got to figure out how to build them safely. We got to figure out how to build them in with a tighter time frame that the clients are looking for, maintain the quality that they're looking for. There's regulations and restrictions, sustainability, so we need people to be comfortable having dialogue with each other outside of the workplace, to be able to have those conversations inside of the workplace, to be able to keep pushing the limits on innovation of what we're doing.
I agree with you completely. This is a broader narrative that isn't just limited to the construction industry by all means, although we're both hyper focused on it because we're so excited about it. Well, I appreciate you sharing some of that. I've got two more questions for you. One of them is one you've already answered. I should have gone back and checked and seen what your answer is. I can't remember what it was. I'm very sorry. But I want to get back into the tech nerd stuff because I know you're passionate about all the VDC work your team is doing. Can you tell me some of your favorite industry trends right now and some of the predictions you might have for what's coming in the next decade for construction?
So to me, the biggest and hottest industry trend right now, and we've heard it in one of the keynotes, is artificial intelligence and AI, and what the evolution of that can be. I think we're really just scratching the surface. I think there is so much opportunity there. I'm excited for it, not just in personal day-to-day tasks, but honestly in how we can be better at designing, better at building, and better at managing facilities moving forward. In addition to that, I think the reality capture space is just blowing up right now. I think there's a lot of opportunity tying that in with artificial intelligence, and then also I think tying that in with building information modeling, really having a good synergy and integrations with those. I think the opportunities, as we mentioned before, with the designs evolving, with schedule, with cost, with material, and with labor and quality, though there's opportunity to achieve great things if we're able to figure out how to really streamline some of these processes.
Yeah, I think we're finally at this inflection point in industry where like our technology and our software all kind of caught up, and we had a rocky few years there, but we had a forced digital transformation that came along with that, and it's a big silver lining because I think it set us up to be really impactful with the technology choices we make, especially as we continue navigating many of the ongoing challenges that the industry is going to face for a number of years. So I love how all that comes together. That's really cool. So final question for you, sir. What is one tool you'll always take to any project you're working on, no matter what project it is?
So my first answer from the very first show was the determination. That was
I love that you remember and I didn't.
Yes. So I'm going to go with kind of that same philosophy. And I've heard a lot of the other great answers from the other previous guests. But to me, one tool that for my role and what I do at our company that I have to bring is the ability to communicate effectively. That tool is critical, especially as we're talking about change and change management innovation. People are going to be hesitant to what are we talking about? I don't want to do this new process. I don't want to try this new thing. So while the tools are critical to continue to evolve, how we communicate that is a tool that is valuable and a skill set that I need to on every single job site.
It's a fantastic answer, and it's not a skill set that we're taught in school either. And like the depth and importance of emotional intelligence alongside just business intelligence is tremendous, especially for our leaders, but even for the individual, as far as how do you navigate work conflict? How do you navigate stressful situations? How do you communicate that change management that you're talking about? It's so many layers deep. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of folks aren't necessarily empowered there because they haven't been told so clearly that this is important right alongside the technical skills and the managerial skills you have. And I think the best leaders that I've ever worked for have such an incredible level of emotional intelligence and ability to communicate both how they're feeling and also that it's okay to come to them to tell them how you're feeling. listening goes a long way, regardless of the scope of what change you're doing, whatever circumstance it is. So that's an awesome answer, Cliff.
Thank
I
you.
like it.
I'm glad you said that. Because to me, I always try to tell my team as I've grown into a leadership role, communication's a two-way street. It's me maybe communicating, but it's me also listening.
Absolutely.
And then how I write, my written skills is a part of that communication as well.
Yeah, it all really does come full circle. Well, Cliff, again, thank you so much for coming back and joining me on Digital Builder. It's been a wild ride for the last 3 years, and I'm so thankful that you've been part of that journey, and we've been able to connect now that we're back in Las Vegas. And for everybody that's out there listening to Digital Builder, again, just thank you for joining us today. You likely know this already, but we are a video-first podcast. You can find us on the Autodesk Construction Cloud YouTube channel. You can also find Digital Builder on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. If you'd like to reach out to me, suggest a guest, ask any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Eric Thomas that works at Autodesk, to my knowledge anyway. In addition to that, you can also find me on Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days at builder_digital. And finally, just thank you for listening and goodbye.